All right. I'm going to read an announcement. In accordance with Board Procedure BP5, this meeting will be live streamed and recorded and can be viewed on the DASD YouTube channel. So it's now 6 o'clock. I will call the meeting to order. Rebecca, was the meeting properly noticed?
Yes.
Thank you. And Ann, can we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Jan Berg.
Here.
Brian Coker.
Here.
Sue Esser.
Here.
Jeff Hahn.
Here.
Linda Lenhart.
Here.
Gusty Lewis.
Present.
Gail Lovick.
Here.
Stephanie Saar.
Here.
And Megan Taylor.
Here.
Thank you. And that brings us to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic one nation under God, indivisible, and justice for all. Pledge of allegiance I've had in a while. All right, that brings us to the mission, vision, and equity statement.
The mission of the DeForest Area School District is to provide an excellent education and engage, challenge, and inspire all students to pursue their full potential. The DeForest Area School District is committed to a culture that honors knowledge, respects individuals, demands excellence, fosters lifelong learning, and supports relationships that strengthen individuals, families, and community. And our equity statement is, we believe every student can learn and deserves equitable access to high quality, rigorous, and engaging learning opportunities. So we'll ask questions, foster relationships, manage resources, and create systems to increase and sustain access, equity, and safety for all learners.
Thank you. That brings us to approving the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with one adjustment. I'd like to postpone 7B until our next meeting.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That brings us to item 4, showcasing students.
Yes, so we're going to have Kate Davitich, our Director of K-6 Instruction, come on up and introduce a whole group of people.
So I'm going to introduce the adults, and then they are going to help us with all the students that are here to show all of the learning that they're doing. So first, I'm going to introduce you to Keelan Eggleston, our dance learning coordinator in the district. Buddy, nice to meet you. And then you have Megan Carney, who is the third grade teacher at Yahara, and Amy Schmidt, the instructional coach at Yahara. And if you all want to come up here and their students, so we can learn all about you.
Welcome, everybody. We are very excited to have you here and hear all about what you're doing in your classroom.
My name is Keelan Eggleston, and these are some of our fantastic third graders who have experienced the magic of choice-based learning tools. It all began back in the fall when I first started working in the district. I started working first with Yahara, and I facilitated a workshop for the teachers all about choice-based learning tools. And then I partnered with Amy Schmidt, a fantastic instructional coach at Yahara also, and she also partnered then with Ms. Carney, and together they facilitated a fantastic opportunity for the kids to experience choice-based learning tools to stretch their brains and keep them engaged and motivated and learning and growing. And so it's been a really great experience and valuable support from the instructional coaches on all of the campuses with this, and teachers like Megan have been taking it and running with it. And it's been really fantastic to visit all the campuses and the grade levels and see this come to life. So I'm really excited that you get to see a little bit about what it's like into the third grade.
They are very excited to share with you, so I am going to let them run the show because they have a plan, they know what they're doing. Are you ready, Cedric?
Hi everyone, we're so excited to show you what we've been doing in our third grade math unit. So presenting mathematicians, I'm Cedric, Henry,
Elena, Clara, Sam, Weston, Theo. You may be wondering what math looks like in our classroom. It's more than just sitting at desks doing worksheets to grow our knowledge in our room. We are busy problem solving, collaborating with each other, and learning brand new strategies from our friends. We also use choice boards, which we like to call our math menus. These menus let us take ownership of our learning because we get to choose how we practice our math skills. We have all kinds of options, like using technology, playing games, writing about math, or even doing art. One of our favorite parts of the day is a daily puzzle called All 10. We start with a set of numbers and have to find ways to make every number 1 to 10 using addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Well, it helps us strengthen our mental math skills. Now we'd like to show you how it works with the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 9. I'm gonna do 2. So if 9 divided by 3 would equal 3. So 3 minus 2 plus 1 is 2. I am going to do 1, which is 9 divided by 3. Then 3 minus 2. Then 1 times 1. I am going to do 9. You can get 9 multiple different ways, but first I'm going to do 3 minus 2, and then that minus 1, and then you have 0, so 0 plus 9 gets you to 9. I will do 5. 9 minus 2 equals 7, minus 3 plus 1 equals 5. I'm going to do 10. First, you start with 3 times 1 equals 3. Then you do 3 plus 9 equals 12. And you do 12 minus 2 equals 10. I'm going to do 7. So 3 minus 2 equals 1. 1 plus 1 equals 2. And 9 minus 2 equals 7. I'm going to do 3. 9 minus 3 equals 6. 1 plus 2 equals 3. 6 minus 3 equals 3.
So those are different every day. So they're really sometimes takes us a long time, sometimes not quite as long, depending.
Sometimes you can get them in like
Right?
a minute.
Sometimes it's hard, right?
I remember getting
really
that one in like
frustrating and challenging, but you keep going to figure it out.
We also love project-based learning because it shows how math works in the real world. We get to explore different types of math, and it challenges our brain in many new ways. So, why do we like doing math this way? It's because it is challenging. It's engaging. It's fun. We get to play fun games. We love collaborating with each other. It's entertaining to do different activities and challenges. It's inspiring. And it grows our brains. Thank you so much for listening. We were so excited to share our learning with you today. You are welcome to come visit us during math at Yahara anytime. Does anyone have questions for the mathematicians?
That was great. My brain is still reeling on how fast you guys did those problems. I'm like, my brain does not move that fast, especially at 6 o'clock at night. Does anybody have any questions for them?
I just want to say great job. And I have a first grader. What should I tell my first grader to be ready for third grade? Go for it.
Okay. So third grade, when you get to third grade, the problems get pretty challenging, but my tip would be to keep trying and never give up.
I like that too.
Good one.
So how would you compare this to how you did math last year? Because you guys didn't have this last year, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Last year, we didn't have access to most like the technology we have now and the freedom to have voices on what we do during math.
Do you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, like last year it was a little more easier, like we had easier problems and like it gets harder every grade level, so you always gotta put your brain every grade.
now we have more choices for what we get to do because usually we would just work on our math books, but now we have more choices of what to do in different games. Second grade wasn't really challenging me. Like I knew most of the stuff that they were teaching, but now that I'm in third grade, I'm learning new things I didn't know how to do.
Awesome. That is awesome.
So did all of you enjoy math before this way of learning, or did this help you enrich your learning of math?
Yes, I've always loved math.
Go ahead then.
I've always loved math.
What's your thought on it?
It was still fun, a little more sitting than usual that we do now. Like now we have more stuff to do, like last year. So it was okay in second grade, but it's now better.
I think this new way helps me make math a little better.
Do you think this would be fun if you did it, say, in like science or English too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any questions from the board?
Yes, I have a question. So what are we gonna be when we grow up?
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Hands raised.
Yeah, maybe just go down the lane.
Yeah.
Unless you want to keep thinking first, Cedric.
All right.
I want to be an engineer.
A what?
An engineer.
Engineer.
I want to be a lawyer.
Oh, Lord.
I want to be the first person on Mars.
Ooh.
Singer songwriter.
I want to be a geologist. I want to be an engineer like Cedric, but I also want to be an NBA player. I want to be a video game tester.
I need to get all of your autographs.
Well, thank you very much for sharing all of your learning. We really appreciate you guys coming tonight. You did a great job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to our staff and to the parents too for supporting this. So always, I got to visit your classroom a few weeks ago and observe, and it's awesome to see kids in action and really owning their learning. So thanks for your hard work. It's always appreciated. So
Thank you all very much.
I got one.
Can hear your parents.
Oh, no kids going, "Oh, yeah, dear." It's okay. I understand. I understand.
A couple minutes here, guys.
Kiddies are not gonna stay for, kiddies are gonna stay for OE4. I mean, it's some riveting stuff.
Right.
Does that say unify the slide?
Welcome, Nate.
Thank you. I can't believe these guys all left.
See you come back and follow.
There's,
All right, so that obviously brings us to board business and presentation and possible approval of OE4 Personnel Administration Monitoring Report. So welcome.
So I'm going to be going over OE4. I have a handful of slides to guide us through, and then I'll turn it over to you. So personnel administration, we're monitoring that we're recruiting, employing, developing, evaluating, and compensating employees to support a culture that achieves our results policies. And about 2 or so years ago, the board revised this policy to really draw a deliberate connection between staff culture and results, which I think is fantastic. I like to think of this report as a gauge of the overall health of both personnel administration and organizational culture, 9 defined operating expectations with 40 different pieces of evidence in the indicators. And I love the way that this report is constructed, in that in the evidence you have comparative data, longitudinal data, you have demonstration of process execution, you have some objective measures or outcomes that are probably closer to results than operating expectations, and you have measures of staff perception. So I like to think of it as, are we doing the right things? Are those things having the desired outcome? And how do people feel about that? So 3 different kinds of evidence that hopefully align and tell the same story. So we're monitoring the 24-25 year, which means we're looking back at 23-24 to see if we improved or regressed. The action plans that we developed, we're implementing this year, hopefully to see some the desired outcomes in the future. So I'm going to start by walking through last year's capacity building and action plans and outcomes, just to see if we followed through on what we were planning to follow through on. And I think our biggest objective last year action plan was executing the intentions of the operating referendum. Remember that? Really big project, really big plans. So a lot of that had to do with strategic hires to manage student to staff ratios, added staff, a lot of FTE at the high school level, added supports like our advanced learning coordinator that you were just introduced to, bilingual student and family advocate, behavioral support teacher, added SRO help. So a lot of strategic additions to both balance our staffing and class sizes and also add supports where needed. So I think we did a nice job of executing that plan. Expanding recruitment efforts was another initiative. I would describe us previously as being a we-can only district where we really weren't pursuing a lot of other posting platforms. We've had a lot of success looking at other places. We formalized our use of the Wisconsin DPI internship program. In fact, we created 2 special ed teachers mid-year as a result of that internship program. So it's really become kind of this grow your own program that we've formalized. And we've had a lot of improvement in filling vacancies. That was an area where we have open positions staying open for way longer than we were comfortable for. And I think a lot of our efforts and other changes have minimized that problem. And the last one that we had outlined in the plan was continuing to improve staff perceptions related to employee benefits. That work is led by our insurance advisory committee. We've done a lot to educate and inform staff, add and enhance elective benefits, and really maintaining stability in our primary benefit health insurance has done a lot to continue sustaining improvement in all of our measures there. So that was last year. Let's take a look at the 24-25 monitoring report highlights. One would be sustained improvement in high-level indicators. So in the report last year, we showed that the district was in a really healthy place and we had high metrics across the board in a lot of our areas. Sustaining that was a big win for us. I talked about the hiring cycle and being able to fill vacancies with a lot more success. That was something that we saw again last year. Employee retention is something that was maintained. We had a retention rate that hovered between 88 and 92% pretty consistently. And then we had a 2-year dip where we're at 84%. We recovered from that and last year demonstrated another year of sustained retention, which is an important metric. And then overall staff perception measures. We've had historically high rates in many of our ratings in the prior monitoring report. We maintained a lot of those and we look really good both comparatively and longitudinally. We're really pleased with the big picture measures and sustained improvement in some of those indicators. When you have a plan, execute that plan, and you have the desired outcome. That's a huge success. We had a couple areas where we had really pronounced success in really moving the needles on some of our measures. One was related to our support staff perceptions around feeling supported in professional development. Our student services department did a ton of work really zeroing in on formalizing the supports, adding professional development opportunities, having a formal professional development plan, and then the business office supported adding professional development time for that employee group. And I outlined in the report the incredible increases that we saw in perception ratings. So that was a huge success. And then again, perception ratings related to employee benefits was an area where we were below our compliance metric mark, and we continue to show improvement there, which we're pleased with. Hardwiring staff engagement efforts. The foundation of this report is that we believe in the connection between staff engagement and staff culture and student outcomes. Staff culture doesn't just happen. You have to have a plan in place and consistently execute that plan. And a lot of these items outlined here are the measures that we take that ensure that we're consistently checking in with staff, practicing shared decision-making, engaging our employees, and really putting feedback into action. So I would say this is probably our third year of doing these items consistently, and it's starting to feel like not things that we do, but how we operate as Norski leadership. Some areas for improvement or future action plans and capacity building. We pointed out a noted exception in 4.1 related to license application and renewal process. So we didn't have an error on our DPI audit report related to licensing, but we identified in our support staff an opportunity for improvement there. This is my 9th year doing this monitoring report, and I love the monitoring report cycle. It's a way for us to identify areas for improvement, and we found some ways to bolster that process to minimize the likelihood of these things, of these types of exceptions. Compensation. This is going to be one that is something we keep up with on an annual basis. It's not going away. These are decisions we make on an annual basis. It's a moving target. We shoot using lagging data, and we've done pretty good in staying in compliance. We identified in this report some incremental regression in that area that we want to keep an eye on. I would by no means say we're in an area where we're needing to catch up, but we don't want to put ourselves in a position to do so. Just continuing to monitor that closely and make data-driven decisions. And then lastly, continuing systematic staff engagement efforts. All of those things that we're doing. Culture isn't something that you set and forget. It's something that takes a lot of deliberate action, care, and attention. And every interaction, every decision has the opportunity to impact culture either positively or negatively. So making sure we have systems in place to drive a happy, healthy culture. And then the last item that we pointed out, OE4 has 3 may not statements in the policy. The boards, we've never developed interpretations, definitions, indicators for these statements. Each one of them is monitored in other places that I outlined in the monitoring report. And we're suggesting that the board consider removing them from OE4 policy. But of course, that's a policy decision and one for the board to consider.
Okay, for that reason, all the reasons that Nate explained, we have marked this report in compliance with exceptions noted.
Okay. Accept a motion.
Make a motion to accept the report.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have some seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we now own the report. We can ask Nate or Rebecca questions.
I have a question. So from 2016 to 2025, we've gone up 30% in employees. Have we gone up 30% in student enrollment in that time?
I have to verify that exact number, but we've gone up every year. So
I'm just curious about the
Yep.
portion of.
I can find out from 2016 to 2025.
I would say I monitor student to staff ratios pretty closely over that time. And we've been deliberately trying to push that number down to be a little bit more in line with our peers. But yeah, that'd be worth.
And our policy. I mean, the board set policy on.
Class sizes,
Would-
we have
would
class
impact
size
it.
ratios, yes.
Not argument, just asking the question.
Yeah, proportionately, are we growing at a similar rate?
Right. It seems like that's a big number, but maybe it's proportionally correct.
I like how you, when you said it, I noted it, like you said, you added strategic positions and you notated a lot of what those were. And I think that's been done across the board very well. Like we're making data-driven decisions or community-based decisions on, not just on a whim. There's purpose behind them. Any other questions from people? I'm interested in knowing, I know this report typically comes this time of year, but we're seeing like the lagging data on it. So now like we're gonna have staff perceptions come out. You do them in the spring, right? The survey. Yeah.
Right now, it's.
So like,
16.
He chooses the worst month to do that.
I just want, like, I feel like, like this already happened in the school year, and then we're already like halfway through another school year before we even see what that data was, and you're already well into your action plan of making the change. And I just, from your perspective, would it be more opportune to see the report, let's say, I don't want to say, 2 weeks after you do the school perception survey, but like April, May, something like that? Would that give us a little bit more real-time data, I guess?
Yeah, it does feel like the information gets to the board late. I assure you that we're not waiting until.
No, I don't think that's the case. I just think it's maybe the placement of the cycle of the report. And I also think too, like, would that help us as we go into compensation talks in the spring? Or, I just think, would that help with, I don't know, any.
A couple of things I want to add to that, if that's okay. We struggle with this as directors all the time about the lagging data. And in fact, when I was, director of instruction, R3 and R4, I remember the board saying the exact same thing about R3 and R4. And so we started adding in measures from the fall into that report. So now we have indicators that are from one part of the year and from another part of the year. That feels weird. And actually we've gotten guidance that that's, a little bit something we want to be careful of. But what we have done with like R2 is we've provided to the board a progress monitoring mid-year, like the iReady data mid-year. So that is something we could take the same metrics that are in OE4 and provide, when we get those metrics, we could provide at least those numbers so that you have that, but not do a whole monitoring report or shift the whole thing.
I'm just saying shift the whole thing. Like, no, don't create more work for yourselves. The report is very thorough. It's not like I need to re-monitor it halfway through the year.
Just that, like, what are the implications?
Just your thoughts on like potential shift. Would that help us with, like when we think about hiring, for the next year, would that, benefits as we go into compensation talks? Would that help with the school perception survey? We'd be hearing that data as it came out, as you make plans for the following year.
Yeah, I would say I monitor each and every one of these as they come out. So the staff perception survey is out now, closes on 16th. So I will know on the 16th if we're in compliance with every one of these staff perception measures here. Actually, it will be afterwards because I need comparative data from school perceptions.
But that would be a report that we wouldn't see until next year.
We could easily,
right?
We could easily provide the same metrics that are in this report as a progress monitoring in between. I mean, that would be something.
Reported compensation data comes out late in the spring. So each of the information just kind of trickles out depending on the data source.
Well, is there a time of year that you think, maybe you're like, this is the bulk of it and it would be better, timing would be better for the board to hear it then, knowing the other decisions we have to make around compensation and, packages and stuff like that. I mean,
That's good. I think we'd have to look at the overall work plan of the board and see how it fits in.
And I'm looking at it right now. Should pull that up.
So compensation information, the board, if you wanted to use any of these metrics before that, which we do, that means you would want it before, May of, so this February's perception data in May, we wouldn't be ready to report out everything at that point. Like that doesn't flow, but we could give you like I said, the progress monitoring of what we can at that point of what we have.
You guys are internally using that for your compensation decisions, right? Your recommendations.
Yeah.
This is where, like, I agree. If it makes more sense to present to the board any particular time of year, that's fine. I would not add work or a second monitor, because fundamentally this is your work. This is our way of keeping up to date with it. But as long as you have the data and you're using it, that's what this report shows us, right? So, I'm all for changing a time of year if it makes more sense. Be more timely, that's great. but I'm not as concerned with that as that you're doing the work you're doing.
Yeah.
Which,
Other question? Did you have?
Well, are we finished with this one?
Oh, yeah. There's just
Trying to
going
get
be
a sense, maybe for us as directors, what does the board want from that discussion? As far as a shift in OE4 timing or progress monitoring data that we can provide or nothing?
I don't know
changes?
that, I mean, hear me out, but I don't know that we necessarily need to have it set in stone that you give us progress monitoring. I feel very comfortable that when we get to some of those decisions, you guys bring that stuff to us anyways, right? Like you bring it to us so that we can make the proper decision on compensation and things for staff. I feel like anytime that pops up, I feel like you bring forward at that time what we need. And at that time, if we need more, we can always ask for more. So personally for me, I would say if you guys feel timing wise, it would be easier or better, if there's a different time of year, go ahead and propose it to us. And if we could switch that around on the calendar, great. I don't, that's where I kind of.
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
don't think,
hearing
I
right
think
now,
it's, you
but-
guys need to maybe look at maybe some of the data points that went into this and what makes logistically the most sense. I don't think it's the board saying you have to bring this to
No,
us
I didn't
first,
feel
but
that. It was,
yeah.
I have to, I was getting a sense of what you all want or need.
I think I'm
for
with Megan, like you do bring us data. I just don't want that to get lost either, like where we're making decisions that aren't in line with what was already monitored or that the data was.
What would be the, I mean, a lot of these are trends, right? I mean, what would be the harm in it being a little bit later? I mean, we're getting in later, but what's the harm of that? I mean, we're living trends. Trends are pretty consistent.
Say if there was something that was cause for alarm that we were finding in an indicator, we'd probably be notifying the board of.
Be telling them that way, yeah.
Waiting till now.
I'd be comfortable if
Where'd you go?
if the administration just reviews it, and if you see a better, a better time, then we could, as you say, propose that, but otherwise, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And do you remember, did we move things, anything, the monitoring reports, so in the annual work plan? Were there things that had to be bumped around earlier in the year, this year?
Not this year, but we did move R3 and R4 logistically at the end of towards the end of a school year so that you could have the data from earlier in the school year because it didn't feel right. We were reporting it, I think, in December from the year before.
Right, yeah. So I'm just in terms of logistically, like there are no, so July, August, September, the only monitoring reports we receive is OE2. And so, I mean, in terms of monitoring reports, I know we only had the one meeting in July. And that's a busy time of year.
I wonder
not
if
for-
this
not-
makes more sense to table for like, right before we do an annual work plan, that we can maybe have the directors give them some time, all of them, to look at the reports. I don't think that there's been anyone that's been glaring, but do they fit in the right spot so that as we plan our annual work plan for the next year?
Yeah.
do we wanna
I will
shift
say,
some
we
stuff?
bring the draft to directors to
Yeah.
have a conversation every single time before it gets approved, to ask them, if they have any input or have, suggestions. So that's part of our process before we even bring the draft to you. But, yeah, it's always something to be looking at.
Just what they think about. Okay, okay.
I think that it's really good to always get, like you said, data in real time as much as possible. It really is important, like for all of our monitoring reports.
I think that's a good idea. Bring it back later. Okay. I guess I don't want to say it's a concern, but when you think about preparing for the future and you said it's pretty hard, it's a moving target, that 5%, keeping us right at that middle ground for compensation, knowing that some of our peers could and probably will go to referendum again, competing with that and retaining our staff. And I know that there's more to it than just the compensation part. That culture, like you said, is a huge part in retaining our staff. But I just wonder how much of a concern that is with potential future. Or if that's just a loaded question that you really can't answer.
That's a great question. What I like about this report is there are a number of indicators that we're tracking related to retention, separations, why people are leaving. So we've got not only the objective measures, the hard data, how do we compare? We also have how are people feeling? We also have what are their actions? We have the separation report, we have the reasons for separation. We track in hiring the number of people who decline an offer based on compensation. So we're really monitoring how attractive we are for new hires and retaining current hires in a lot of different ways. And I kind of speak to this in the monitoring report. Although it's not jumping off the page as a compliance error yet, we can see longitudinally a trend where we are, we're not out of compliance, we're not in the red area, but we can see longitudinally that we're slowly regressing. And it's just something to keep an eye on. And every district is having these same conversations about compensation. I would say when the CPI was at 4.72 and 8, there was a lot more fluctuation between districts and compensation. And there was a lot more jockeying for position happening at that point in time, as opposed to now we're a lot more stable historically relative to the CPI. So smaller target. Where 2 years ago, there was quite a bit of fluctuation and those were difficult decisions. There was a lot of room for error there.
And you would assume because a lot more districts were going to referendum at that time to support that, right?
But you can also argue that if you look at the average salary versus the average experience, they don't line up.
Yeah.
They don't line up. I mean, you could say one of the best retentions is the second to the bottom. So my argument always is that you have to have a good culture to work in and be fair.
Yeah, I agree. I think the balance of this report and the emphasis on gauging the culture is a good measure of the organization and how healthy we are. And this is one element, compensation is one element measured here and measured in a number of different ways.
Yeah, we talk about taking care of people, that taking care of them means that they're paid fairly and that we create a culture where they want to have a voice and help and work hard and all of that. So we have to do both. We have to take care of people, but keep them.
I think that when I look at that list of things that you're doing from a culture perspective, you've had rounding and stuff in there. I think about like the mentor program. I think about things that we're providing that maybe other districts are not, that build that culture of belonging and, the same way we would want our students to feel, and I do think that is a good measure to have in there along with the actual data of what we're seeing. Any other questions?
I just had a question about leadership rounding. There is a definition in here, but I wasn't entirely clear about what leadership rounding includes.
I could share a presentation with the board that we introduced at leadership. It's really our leaders deliberately engaging with employees. So going around and asking what's going well, what challenges are you experiencing? Do you have what you need to do your job? And how can I help you? And then there's also an element of that of spreading gratitude where you're asking who's one person who's been helpful and then following up with gratitude. It's really keeping our leaders keeping a finger on the pulse of how people are doing, what they need, and how we can support them better. And every one of our leaders doing that systematically across the district is really a great way to engage our employees and have a good sense of how people are doing and if they have what they need.
So in that, you, not in the leadership rounding, but do we ask our teachers and our staff and whatnot, how we can attract more? Or what we could do that would attract more, what we could do better?
I would say that probably comes out in rounding.
Okay.
Our 30-day and 90-day check-ins that we incorporate into our rounding cycles. That's another way where we're soliciting feedback from our newer hires. And then the staff engagement survey, there are both statement rating measures, but also open-ended comments, and the narrative feedback that we get there is really valuable.
So rounding came from a research-based method from Studer, and it comes from the hospital idea of rounding on patients, that you go and check with your people regularly. Nate keeps us all on track. He keeps the metrics and then puts out reports to leadership. And then at our leadership meetings, we meet every other week. He reminds us, he shows the data of where we're at with how many people. We all have a certain number of employees that we round with. He keeps track of it and also reports back so we can see our metrics and hold each other accountable. It's intentional, systematic way to take care of people.
You know what I love about that is like,
that's
it's
really helpful.
it's more than just the staff survey. So it's it's two-way feedback from the staff, like you said, like I love surveys, they do. Same with like the student ones, like, are we getting the most accurate? And I feel like that the rounding is another way to really engage with our staff and see how they feel and how they're doing and checking in. It's a really
An important metric in there too is that we keep track of who we've rounded with and what employee group they're in. So like recently he saw a trend where maybe it was a few months ago now where our EAs weren't being rounded with as much as like our certified staff. So then we all made an intention to like go find some EAs to check in with. And I'm sure we'll have another pop-up of who else are we missing now. But it is great that you oversee that for the team.
Yeah. As far as 4.1 and the licensures, are you saying there wasn't very many that we were missing? So were they stipulations like they were?
So support, I'll give a hypothetical example. We have an employee we hire mid-year and they ask, do you mind if I get my first paycheck before I submit my license to pay for my license? So I said, sure, it's dated retroactive back. And then we separate employment. Person never follows through with that payment or application. So that would be an example of how there could be a gap in licensure where someone could slip through the cracks.
Is there any danger in doing that? Or any liability in not having a licensure? Putting
It's
them?
sort of as a compliance error on our report,
Okay.
flagged by the DPI. Licenses are issued retroactively back.
Okay.
I looked at the DPI today and like they're processing applications, one-year licenses with stipulations that were paid on October 26th right now.
So they're lagging in there.
Right.
Had a program license that were paid on. So there's a lag. So there's always going to be the possibility where someone submits an application and, you know, for whatever reason, they don't submit their fingerprints or some odd stipulation.
But to remember, we also do a background check. So.
Yeah, we verify they're eligible for their license. There's going to be friction somewhere along the way. We're moving that friction further up where we're requiring more proof on the front end rather than offering a grace period. So again, I've been doing this monitoring report for 9 years. This is the first time we identified this practice resulting in an error. That's one that we identified as a process improvement that can minimize this from happening.
The only other question I had is, and you kind of highlighted it in 4.8 about support staff not having the lower percentage of receiving evaluations due to some change in leadership. But I also noticed that the retention rate for that particular group is lower. And I wonder if there's correlation in not having some sort of touch point with them.
Yeah, yes, and I also think the nature of those positions, like Jeff, you were not surprised to learn of the turnover in our B&G at our last meeting. I think we should have a higher bar, higher expectation of retention in K-12 education. But by the nature of our support staff positions, there's going to be more turnover. Certified position, you have a contractual employment arrangement where they're signing a contract agreeing to a term of employment, or a support staff are more at will. So by nature of those positions, there could be more mobility. But looking longitudinally, you know, that is an area where we have concern. We would like to drive up our retention of our support staff. And we've taken some steps to do so.
I will say that we don't have very many administrators of support staff, so that's where, support staff are on a 3-year evaluation cycle because of that. So a principal and an AP, this isn't B and G, but now this would be like our educational assistants. So you take like the Harvester High School building and they probably have 150 staff members. So, I'm totally ballparking it, 75 support staff members, you have 3 evaluators. So that is, it's just the reality of what we live with is that our support staff don't have access to their leaders as much. It's just the way of the work.
But you got to hear from Roz and his team in buildings and grounds and learn of some of the added supports that Dan and Katie are putting in place for their teams. So I do think we're making improvements in those areas based on some of the feedback and trends that we've seen.
And that's specific to the indicator that's with exception, is directly that B and G team was completely flipped over, so.
I just have one more question. When you talk about fringe benefits and you talked about how important it is for the stability, especially when it comes to the primary health insurance benefits, and I know those are contracted out. Do you know what year we are in our contract for that?
GHC, we have 3 more years of not to exceeds.
Okay. I feel like that provides, when you get to that maybe point, then you're kind of like, oh yeah, we don't know what that entails, and perfect.
Yeah, we're really pleased with what we've seen with the trends. And there's still areas that we want to improve with how they're serving our employees, but they've been really responsive, and the stability is huge, not worrying about massive plan design changes or complete provider disruption.
Well, it's easier, like you said, to get that message out to staff about the benefits that provides. That's when you're not changing constantly, it's easier to get that message out, I think. Other questions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion on their report.
I'll make a motion to approve the report as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have some seconds.
Okay.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, Nate. Stephanie or Jan, you guys need any more input, or anybody have anything to add for a summary statement for OE4? Do we take additions?
Yeah, if somebody has some, I'll go with what I see. About database, community-based report that you mentioned. Continuous improvement is built in. Transparency, the fact that Nate talked about a problem that wasn't flagged on the DPI report, that's still, which I think is also significant, and just overall professionalism of our HR department, I think is really appreciated.
I think of it like, and I know we had a discussion that wasn't like totally this, but when you think about how we look at when we evaluate children, right? We look at the whole child, and what I can appreciate out of this report is that we're looking at not just their compensation or not just their job title. We're looking at them from a whole perspective. When you look at their culture, their professional development, their one-on-one engagement with other staff members, the sense of belonging, all of that kind of just to me feels like we're encompassing our staff in like this big blanket or big bubble that that represents our culture as a district. And to me, that means a whole lot more than just giving them a paycheck.
Question before, thank you for that. I have a question. I don't know if we can talk about it right now, about the policy language related to the may nots. We didn't address it in the previous agenda item. We should
bring
it back, or do we want to put it in the summary statement because this is what the agenda item is?
Yeah, I
the
think
may
it would
nots.
be worth putting in the summary statement, the suggestion by administration to have the board look at the policy itself And whether we want to change it or not.
Either have it monitored
Yep.
or
Remove the may nots.
leave it there.
On the actual board policy, not the report.
Yeah.
I would also say too, and I'm sure you're gonna catch this in your notes or what we talked about, just reviewing when the report or the data from the report on a more current
Yeah.
basis, whether that be moving the report or just getting the data. Anything else from anybody? Well, that I missed maybe?
Good report.
No?
Love the structure of it. Love the layout, love the structure.
I also love that we circled back on last year. Like I felt like I saw it, like I was like, you're like, yes, yeah, I was like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like
Like
that.
review the action plan from last year. Where were we at? Even though it was like 20, yeah, wherever. Yeah, yeah. Love it. All right. Is that enough, Jan?
Plenty.
Okay, great. That brings us to public input, which I have none. That brings us to board consent agenda. Would somebody care to make that motion?
I'll move to approve the board consent agenda.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. That brings us to superintendent consent agenda. Somebody care to make that motion?
I will move approval of the superintendent consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. That brings us to press verification, and they are not here. That brings us to board debrief of meeting. So I just have one question, and I'll just welcome anybody to speak up as they wish. What worked well for us tonight as a board?
Third graders.
It was that.
Well, and the question, I love your question, especially about what you want to be, because that, everybody was, yeah, everybody was answered that, yeah. But just in general, yeah, that was a highlight in general.
The kids are great.
But how were we?
I think we were fine. I think we were fine.
With them very nicely.
Yeah.
And got a lot of improving body language and a lot of good questions. Showed we were engaged.
Yes.
It makes me feel like we're like in a spot with these reports as a board that we're digging into some tough questions, but also like following up on stuff that we've like, we want to see the action plan and we want to see the layout laid out like this so that we understand and really can like improve as a district, but we also like follow what's happening, right? And I think that we've gotten to a point in receiving the reports and then like asking the right questions that it feels more impactful, the work that we're doing. Anything else?
Ditto.
All right, ditto. All right, I would entertain a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
I hate to